HMS Barham was a Queen Elizabeth-class battleship built for the Royal Navy during the early 1910s. Often used as a flagship, she participated in the Battle of Jutland during the First World War as part of the Grand Fleet. Other than that battle, and the inconclusive action of 19 August 1916, her service during the war generally consisted of routine patrols and training in the North Sea. During the 1920s and 1930s, the ship was assigned to the Atlantic, Mediterranean, and home fleets. Barham played a minor role in quelling the 1929 Palestine riots and the 1936–39 Arab revolt in Palestine. The ship was in the Mediterranean when the Second World War began in September 1939 and accidentally collided with and sank one of her escorting destroyers on her voyage home 3 months later. She participated in the Battle of Dakar in mid-1940 where she damaged a Vichy French battleship and was slightly damaged in return. Barham was then transferred to the Mediterranean Fleet where she covered multiple Malta convoys. She helped to sink an Italian heavy cruiser or a destroyer during the Battle of Cape Matapan in March 1941 and was damaged by German aircraft 2 months later during the evacuation of Crete. Barham was sunk off the Egyptian coast in November 1941 by the German submarine U-331 with the loss of 862 crewmen, approximately two-thirds of her crew. Design and description. The Queen Elizabeth-class ships were designed to form a fast squadron for the fleet that was intended to operate against the leading ships of the opposing battle line. This required maximum offensive power and a speed several knots faster than any other battleship to allow them to defeat any type of ship. Barham had a length overall of 643 feet 9 inches, a beam of 90 feet 7 inches and a deep draft of 33 feet. She had a normal displacement of 32,590 long tons and displaced 33,260 long tons at deep load. She was powered by 2 sets of Brown Curtis steam turbines, each driving 2 shafts, using steam from 24 Yarrow boilers. The turbines were rated at 75,000 shp and intended to reach a maximum speed of 25 knots. During her abbreviated sea trials on 6 July 1916, the ship only reached a mean top speed of 23.91 knots. Barham had a range of 5,000 nautical miles at a cruising speed of 12 knots. Her crew numbered 1,016 officers and ratings in 1916. The Queen Elizabeth class was equipped with 8 breech-loading 15-inch Mki guns in 4 twin-gun turrets, in 2 superfiring pairs fore and aft of the superstructure, designated A, B, X, and Y, from front to rear. 12 of the 14 BL 6-inch Mk12 guns were mounted in casemates along the broadside of the vessel amidships. The remaining pair were mounted on the forecastle deck near the aft funnel and were protected by gun shields. Their anti-aircraft armament consisted of 2 quick-firing 3-inch 20 hundredweight Mki guns. The ships were fitted with 4 submerged 21-inch torpedo tubes, 2 on each broadside. Barham was completed with 2 fire control directors fitted with 15-foot rangefinders. One was mounted above the conning tower, protected by an armored hood, and the other was in the spotting top above the tripod foremast. Each turret was also fitted with a 15-foot rangefinder. The main armament could be controlled by B turret as well. The secondary armament was primarily controlled by directors mounted on each side of the compass platform on the foremast once they were fitted in. July 1917. The waterline belt of the Queen Elizabeth class consisted of Krupp cemented armor that was 13 inches thick over the ship's vitals. The gun turrets were protected by 11 to 13 inches of Casey armor and were supported by barbets 7 to 10 inches thick. The ships had multiple armor decks that ranged from 1 to 3 inches in thickness. The main conning tower was protected by 13 inches of armor. After the Battle of Jutland, 1 inch of high-tensile steel was added to the main deck over the magazines, and additional anti-flash equipment was added in the magazines. The ship was fitted with flying-off platforms mounted on the roofs of B and X turrets in 1918, from which fighters and reconnaissance aircraft could launch. During her early 1930s refit, the platforms were removed from the turrets and an extending Type EIT catapult was installed on the roof of X turret, along with a crane to recover a float plane. This was initially a Fairey IIIF until it was replaced by a Fairey Swordfish in 1938. Major alterations. Barham received a series of minor refits during the 1920s. In 1921-22, 30-foot rangefinders replaced the smaller ones in B and X turrets. 2 years later, her anti-aircraft defenses were upgraded when the original 3-inch AA guns were replaced with a pair of QF 4-inch MKVAA guns. Between November 1924 and January 1925, and another pair of 4-inch AA guns was added later that year in October-November. To control these guns, a temporary high-angle control position was added above the torpedo control tower aft. This was replaced by a torpedo rangefinder in early 1928 when the permanent position was installed in the remodeled spotting top. The ship was extensively refitted between January 1931 and January 1934 at a cost of £424,000. During this refit, the aft superstructure was rebuilt and the torpedo control tower and its rangefinder were removed, together with the aft set of torpedo tubes. The forefunnel was shrunk into the aft funnel to reduce smoke in the spotting top. A high-angle control system MKI director were added to the roof of the spotting top, and the main mast was reconstructed as a tripod to support the weight of a second HACS director. A pair of octuple mounts for 2-pounder Mk8 pom-pom anti-aircraft guns were added abreast the funnel, and 2 positions for their directors were added on new platforms abreast and below the spotting top. In addition, a pair of quadruple mounts for Vickers 50 machine guns were added abreast the conning tower. The turret roofs were reinforced to a thickness of 5 inches and the armor added over the magazines after Jutland was replaced by 4 inches of Krupp, non-cemented armor, the first British battleship to receive such. In addition, the rear of the 6-inch gun casemates was enclosed by a 1.5-INCH bulkhead. Underwater protection improved by the addition of anti-torpedo bulges. They were designed to reduce the effect of torpedo detonations and improve stability at the cost of widening the ship's beam by almost 14 feet to 104 feet, and reduced her draft to 32 feet 6 inches. This increased her metacentric height to about 7 feet at deep load, despite the increase in her deep displacement to 35,970 long tons. When Barham conducted her sea trials on 20 November 1933, her speed was reduced to 22.5 knots from 65,655 shp. Later alterations included replacing the single mounts of the AA guns with twin mounts for the QF 4-inch Mark 16 gun, removal of the forward submerged torpedo tubes and the high-angle rangefinder in March-May 1938. In addition, the torpedo control tower aft was replaced by an air defense position during that same refit. While under repair in December 1939–March 1940, a 20-barrel unrotated projectile rocket launcher was installed on the roof of B turret, and her HACS MKI directors were replaced with Mk3 models. The following year, the up mount was replaced by a pair of quadruple Vickers 50 machine gun mounts, and another pair of 8-barreled pom-pom mounts were added abreast her conning tower.